And Brandon, it is time to end the podcast looking at the best team from the Coastal Division last year. And this is where I do it, B. This is where I do it every year. I know I said I'm a VT fan, but I gotta throw up the U every time we talk about the Miami Hurricanes.
Every time.
Throwing up that U for the U. And we talking about Miami. And the first thing I want to start with, same thing we started about for VT. It's all about the quarterback position. This is a team. They are going to have fifth-year starting quarterback coming off of their 10-win season, Malik Rozier. I want to ask you, B, same thing I asked you for VT, is how much better do you expect Rozier to be, or do you expect him to take a step back? This was a guy that had 54% completion. He had over 3,000 yards on the year, 26 touchdowns, 14 INTs. What are you thinking for Malik Rozier this season?
I think Rozier's going to lose his starting job, and I think N'Kosi Perry is going to take over at the quarterback position. I think that Mark Richt really got upset with him at the end of the season on those last three games where they had the three-game losing streak that ended the season. He had about a 45 completion percentage, and I don't believe that Mark Richt was really happy with anything that he saw there. And now, that's not to say that Rozier isn't going to be the starter at the beginning of the season. He might be. But I think N'Kosi Perry is waiting in the wings, ready to take over. He's a guy who can run. He's got a strong arm. And the great thing about Miami, whereas the team in Blacksburg, we're wondering where their weapons are. There are a ton of weapons on this Miami team.
That they say it in this preview, that is just the best way to say it, because this is a word I don't use often. Whoever he is, the quarterback will have a bevy of weapons.
Yeah, you're not a guy who uses bevy often.
I'm not a guy but I might start right now. He's got a bevy of weapons, whoever it is. It may be Rozier, maybe Perry.
But it's going to be fun to watch Miami again this season. They're going to be a good team, but I do think it's important that they go with the right quarterback. And if Rozier's not the guy, they've got to push him to the side and bring in the next guy. And I do think it's going to be Perry. I thought it was going to be Perry last year, and it wasn't. But I think it really could be him this year. And again, with Rozier having the really big struggle at the end of the season, again, like I said before, the end of the season is when you're supposed to be playing at your best. And if you're not, a coach is going to look at that and go, hey, I got to be putting somebody else in here.
I'll tell you, though, if let's say Perry takes the job by like week 4, week 5, I'm looking at this schedule for this Hurricane team, and those same schedule makers that we were saying the Hokies should kiss, the Hurricane should also go, come here, we got to give you a big kiss as well, because the first 5 games, I'm going to say it, the first 5-6 games, very winnable to go 6-0. I know people are going to say, Ricky, LSU, day 1, what are you talking about? That's going to be a tough game. It might be the toughest game of their first 6, but I still got Miami winning that game. I'm not really high on LSU, especially against a team like Miami. Then you got, 3 easy wins. Savannah State, get out of here, that's a joke. Toledo, that's another joke. FIU, not the real FAU, who's the real team of Florida when it's not come to Miami. You're going to beat FIU. Then you get North Carolina, easy win for the Hurricanes. Then Florida State, I'm not high on them. Give me 6-0 to start the year. Hell, give me 7-0. You got Virginia in that next one. Then it starts all right, the next 3 of the next 4 are where we could see maybe a hiccup. You get Boston College on the road. Give me that in a trap game. You get Georgia Tech on the road. That could be a tough one on the road. Like I said, that could be the upset game for Georgia Tech of the season. Then you get Virginia Tech. That one's in Blacksburg as well. Then you get Pitt at home. Give me that. Even though Pitt could be a upset too, Give me that one in Miami. And for me, it comes down to this season. Can you beat Boston College? Can you beat Georgia Tech? Can you beat Virginia Tech? All three on the road.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big question mark there, because you look at this schedule and you think, oh, it's not going to be so difficult, because you look at the first 5-6 games and you go, wow, are they playing anybody this year? LSU, I think that they're a quality opponent, and they're the first one. I'm not saying that Miami's going to beat them, but they're a quality opponent.
But yet again, the thing that I'm going to throw out that is much like the Virginia Tech Florida State discussion we had, LSU right now in a quarterback discussion, Miami pretty much knows who's their quarterback week 1.
But you know what Miami does need to be worried about with LSU is that LSU no longer has Danny Etling.
Mm-hmm.
So that they'll be better.
Yeah.
Because Danny Etling was
Could
terrible.
be Joe Burrow, who we were talking about earlier when he transferred from the Ohio State University.
LSU had some flashes of some really good play last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had some flashes of, whoa, you lost to Troy. So I think that there's some things that LSU needs to clean up. We talked about that a couple of weeks back. And Miami, I mean, there's clearly things that Miami has to clean up too. We saw they went 1-3 in their last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
I think they picked off 1 pass. They allowed a completion percentage of 70.
Yeah, in those final 4.
It was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. So that's why, again, even these good teams, Ricky, they fall into a really hard time like that, and anything's possible then. Anything's possible. Any team could come into their house, beat them, or Miami could go into any one, and all of a sudden, poof, they lose a game that they absolutely should have won.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why Virginia Tech, it could possibly go to either one of them, because they both fell into a little bit of hard times towards the end of their seasons.
Mm-hmm. And here's the question I'm going to ask you. This is a very important one that I need to know, Brandon, is if I got you a turnover chain, would you wear it?
Yeah, of course.
If I got you the U turnover chain, would you wear it?
Yeah.
I'd have to go down to Miami and do some secret squirrel spy missions to get it out of the Miami campus. But if I got it for you, would you wear the turnover chain?
I would. I absolutely would. Are you saying that you're going to try and do that?
No, I'm not going to Florida anytime soon. Too much humidity down there for me.
Oh, man, you're a baby.
I mean, that's what I like about California, no humidity.
Would you be willing to get me a fake one?
Yes, I would get you a fake one.
I expect it this season.
Depending on...
You know what else
we're getting those upset buttons.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
I pulled it up right now on Google as we're talking about this.
Very good.
How to make your own, or how to order your own... easy buttons for we're getting upset special buttons.
And Miami fans are hoping that we're not going to be using any of those against them. But you do. Again, you look at the last 3 games, getting back to it.
Yeah.
On the road at Georgia Tech. On the road at Virginia Tech. And then you got that sneaky Pitt game at home. Though it's going to be a difficult last 3 games, I think, for Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially because they're going to have, I truly think this, they're going to have pressure on them to finish really, really well this season because they finished so poorly last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be expected that we can't finish again like we did last year, guys. Yeah, we won the Coastal. Great. That's awesome. But we can't go out like that.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot go out like that. You've got to pack it in strong, but you're going to have a really, I think, difficult time to go in the last 3 games and win all 3 of those. Pitt, you should win. Virginia Tech, that's going to be tough. Georgia Tech, that's going to be tough. And if Georgia Tech is where they believe that they can be, they could win. Georgia Tech could win that game, and they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And Virginia Tech, if they're at where they believe that they should be, that's going to be a dogfight as well for the Hurricanes. So while most of the season is very friendly, the last couple of games at the most crucial part of the year is going to be really tough.
This prediction for wins and losses is easy for me because I either see what I think will happen is undefeated lose to Clemson in the ACC title game. What has the second highest probability of happening? 1 loss to Virginia Tech, you don't go to the title game. the least probability of happening, but I think could still happen. You lose to Georgia Tech, you lose to Virginia Tech, you're not going to the ACC title game. Those are the three outcomes that I see. This team either wins every game, this team loses to Virginia Tech, or this team loses to Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. Those are the three outcomes I see for the Hurricane this season. And I think that early on, we're going to say, oh, well, who's it going to be? Perry or Rozier? Who's it going to be? I think it's Malik Rozier the whole year. I think he's better with his accuracy this year. And this team will make a run. But the big question is, and I'll ask you this. This team, I don't think they do beat Clemson. But could they give Clemson a run for their... Do you see any chance of them developing into a team that if they go undefeated, gives Clemson a run for their money in the ACC title game?
Well, here's the thing.
Because I think Clemson's
I still have
favorite by far.
I still have the remembrance of playing Clemson last year in the ACC title game. That didn't go well. That did not go well at all. So that's something where, again, but Miami was also playing their worst football. They were playing their absolute worst football of the season at that time.
Into that
they did.
game.
They stumbled right into it while Clemson was going in playing really well. And now Clemson is an even better team. Miami, though, I don't expect them to end on such a poor note like they did last year. Let's just take it back to the amount of weapons that they have. They have a ton of weapons on this team. They have a number of quarterbacks who they could go with who I think would be effective either way. And then the biggest thing for Miami, the thing that they thrived on, where they got their energy, was their defense. It was their defense. And that's really, I think, where the focus needs to be for this team, to continue to make sure that they get their energy from that defense. Remember the game against Notre Dame? That was supposed to be a good game.
It was.
It was not.
It wasn't at all. I believe
was not a good
Notre
game.
Dame was ranked 3 at the time?
Notre Dame was up there.
You want to know the last time? I was just kind of doing a little research. Do you want to know the last time the Hurricanes beat the Clemson Tigers?
When's that?
So before I say the date and year, I want you guys to hit pause in like a few seconds and comment down below your guess. Hit pause now. All right, you're back. I'm going to tell you when. October 2nd. Brandon, what year did you start college?
2011.
So you were a senior in high school at this time. October 2nd, 2010 was the last year that Miami got a win over Clemson. The quarterback, just taking you through a little bit in the Wayback Machine. The quarterback in that game for Miami was a guy named Jacoby Harris. The quarterback for Clemson was Kyle Parker. The running back for Clemson, a former Cardinal in the NFL, Andre Ellington. Their main wide receiver is now a Houston Texan, DeAndre Hopkins.
Like him a lot.
One of the running backs, the guy who finished second in rushing yards that game for Miami, he used to be a Miami Dolphin. Now he's a Houston Texan.
Lamar Miller
is on that team. Travis Benjamin was on that Miami team. You had Dwayne Allen, who was in the NFL right now. He was on that Clemson team. I'm trying to look for any other names that I even see. And, Chandler Catanzaro. He was on that Clemson team. Catanzaro. He was on that Clemson team as well. That is how long ago it's been since Miami has beaten Clemson. So, to me, if they met in the ACC title game, I'm sorry, Miami fans. I'll throw up the U all day with you. But Clemson, to me, is the far-gone favorite to win this ACC, barring any tragic injuries.
Well, again, you know what this is what I think is happening right here, is that Dabo Swinney, he's a mastermind. He's a great coach. He's outstanding. His players have bought in so easily to his system, to everything that's going on there, to the culture. I mean, they've got such a relaxed, fun, winning culture there at Clemson.
Ever since 2011.
But what I was going to say though too is that I think Mark Richt is doing about the exact same thing over at Miami. I think we're really seeing it. I think that Miami is turning the corner. They're turning the corner. They are looking like a team that is well on its way to doing the exact same thing. And this could be the matchup for the next couple of years. It really could. And I know that you don't like to hear that because of your Virginia Tech loyalty as your number 2 team. Just switch them. Make them the number 1. Illinois stinks. But
Justin Fuentes is, I think that this is a 3-dog race. But every year is going to be, you got your VT Miami for this, and then whoever wins plays Clemson for the title.
But what I'm saying is I could really see, kind of putting you aside, this could be the matchup for the next couple of years.
It could.
It could be Miami, Clemson, and people will get so sick of it they'll think it's the SEC.
The only difference though between the coaches, Dabo Swinney, when he got the Clemson job in 2008, which you think about it, he got that Clemson job when I was a senior in high school. That was the first year Dabo Swinney was head coach of Clemson, and we used to make fun of Clemson all the time because it's like, wow, they only went, I think he took over halfway through or midway through that season, only coached 7 games for him, but he's been there the whole time. Whereas Mark Richt, not taking anything away with what he's done with Miami so far, he's kind of got a running start to where he spent, 2001 to 2015 with an SEC team, to where when he went over to Miami, it wasn't like Miami was getting a first-year head coach that needed to learn how to be a head coach. They were getting a guy that knows what to do and can bring that SEC style to the ACC a little bit. And I think that's what we're seeing, where he came in right away 9-4, now 10-3. The big question for Miami is could this be the year that they go an undefeated non-conference, because the fewest losses that Mark Richt has ever had in a season. Do you want to know how long ago it was?
Sure.
2001. His second year with the Georgia Bulldogs. He went 13-1 that season. The only team he lost to, and I got to double check really quickly to see if the guy I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure he was there at the time. No, he was not there at the time. Florida. Florida was the only team they lost to that year, but that was not the Timmy Tebow Florida team that we knew of. Miami was number 1 at the time in that season. But yeah, the 2002 Florida Gators were the only team to beat Mark Richt and his Georgia Bulldogs that year. They went on to win the Sugar Bowl against Florida State that year.
I think that this Miami team is a strong team, just getting stronger. The last couple of recruiting classes have been really good. Rick was an embattled head coach at Georgia at the end of his term, and it's really unfortunate to see how that kind of ended. But he went to the perfect situation for him, and he, like you said, has continued to just take the success that he had in the SEC and that ability of knowing how to win, and that's why I think that, and people can give me a hard time for this and say that I'm an SEC homer, but I think if you look at it, and if they looked at it after they got done yelling at me, saying that I was an SEC homer, if you look at a lot of the guys who come out of the SEC and who have come from, someone who's worked on the staff of like a Mark Richt, someone who's worked on a staff of Nick Saban, Les Miles, name a lot of them. They go and they're successful because they've only seen winning and they'll accept nothing else. I mean, Kirby Smart is a wonderful example. He's gone over to Georgia. He made them a playoff team, and they were almost a national championship team by that much. But they didn't get it this year. I expected they'll probably be back to the playoffs again this next year. They didn't get last year, though. I expect they'd be back this year. But that's just the formula. That is the formula. And he goes from the SEC, goes over to the ACC, another very powerful conference and a very good, successful conference. You go to Miami, a team that has been historically, it has had their problems, it has had their good things, and now, you're getting them back on track. You're bringing success to them. Like you said, year 1, it was good. Year 2, it was better. Year 3, we'll see.
Any final thoughts on Miami? Because for me, I think this is a team, in the end, they're going to go undefeated regular season, lose to Clemson, or 1-loss regular season, don't go to the ACC title game, and then Virginia Tech loses to Clemson.
I think that this is going to probably be Miami's season again. I think that they will most likely win the Coastal, and they will be playing Clemson. I'm interested, though, to see if when they play Clemson, if we actually have a ball game this year, and how and how Miami is playing towards the end of the season, because again, we all know how they played last year. It was bad. And that's why the questions now have come up. Is Rozier going to be the guy? Is it going to be N'Kosi Perry or possibly somebody else? Perry just brings, I think, a whole lot to the table. Again, like I said, in terms of his arm strength and his speed. He's the dual threat guy that would be very fun to watch. And with all those weapons, too, having him back there, you just don't know what you could get. And that's what would keep defenses off balance. But for now, we will see.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section. Housekeeping here at the end. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Thanks to Patrick for joining us on this podcast, which was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Because these preview podcasts are our longest podcasts of the year, basically, some of them ranging to 2 hours because we love to talk about these teams so much. Make sure to check out patreon.com if you want to be like Pat. That is how you do it. Make sure to check out our store so you can get your own MVP t-shirt. The store also available at mostvaluablepodcasts.com. mostvaluablepodcast.com, where you can also get MVP each and every day. Last but not least, go on to iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. I believe the Primetime Podcast is averaging a 4.5 in the star review category, because that one guy, he just thought we were good old boys talking about the SEC. He was the only one to give us that 1-star rating, and he is yet to be our only actual written review. So that's where you guys come in. Let us know why you like listening to the podcast so much. It lets other people know so they listen to the podcast, because we're not good old boys that are from the SEC. We're in Chicago, so really we're Big Ten County, or Big Ten country. We're not even SEC country here in Chicago. We are Big Ten football here in the Midwest. But I want to thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.